James chapter 1, verse 23c. James chapter 1, verse 23c. James chapter 1, verse 23c reads, He is like unto a man, remember his natural face in the glass. Job 26:6. Job chapter 26, verse 6. Hell is naked before him, and destruction has no covering. Leviticus 23c through F. Leviticus 7, chapter 7, 23c through F. Ye shall eat no manner of fat of ox, or of sheep, or of goat. Shalom, everyone, and wherever you may be scattered, thank you for making this teaching a part of your day. I'm Brother Connor, student at King James Bible University, and in the name of the teacher is Spiritually Sick, Part 3A. Getting humbled, being brought low. Last teaching I talked about how I walked contrary to and struggled with Jehovah. This teaching I want to talk about how I was humbled and brought to my lowest point. But before I get started, I'd like to make it known that KJBU is not affiliated with any Christian church or any of their beliefs. No Black Hebrew Israelite street camps. No pro-Black, Black Pan-African groups, including FBA. No so-called Black Indian groups, and no so-called sovereign citizen Moorish groups. King James Bible University stands alone and is a platform for learning what thus says the Lord, using only the sovereign King James Bible. As you recall, I had a procedure called an excision performed on my upper left arm. What followed was a month-long tedious healing process and required wearing a wound vacuum. A wound vacuum or negative pressure wound therapy is a treatment that uses a pump to create a vacuum over a wound to promote healing. A foam or gauze dressing is placed on the wound, sealed with an adhesive film, and connected to a portable vacuum pump that removes fluid and air pressure. This process reduces swelling plus wound plus put. Let me just repeat that. This process reduces swelling, pulls wound edges together, and stimulates new tissue growth. NPWT is used for complex, chronic, and traumatic wounds, but also for burns, pressure ulcers, and surgical wounds, which I had. About 4 years later, I was made aware that I was one. Let me repeat that. I was made aware that I was one of the children of Israel by a camper from Philadelphia who grew up across the street from me. What got me to buy in was he was teaching on Deuteronomy 28:6-8 and Song of Solomon 1:5. And we'll go to Deuteronomy 28:6-8. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt into captivity again with ships. By the way there whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. By this plain, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, no man will redeem you. Song of Solomon 1:5. I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. At that moment, I felt this sense of nationalistic pride, thinking being a follower of Christ was based on an outward appearance, but this is not so. 1 Samuel 16:7. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. But the Spirit of God said unto Samuel, look not on the countenance or on the height of his stature, instead of the thought, because I refuse him. For the Spirit of God has not seen him as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance. However, the Lord looketh on the heart. Deuteronomy 10:16. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 16. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked. That will look up circumcised in the spiritual dictionary. Circumcise, offer, separate, purify. You are to separate from the flesh. And you got foreskin. Foreskin, blindness of life, sheath, circumcision. I had to cut off what was causing me to be spiritually blind. which was my own self-righteous understanding. I had 2 eyes, 2 understanding, and still couldn't comprehend the light. Ephesians 4:18. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 18. Having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them because of the blindness of their heart. Matthew chapter 5, verse 29. Matthew chapter 5, verse 29. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out, in my own righteous understanding, and cast it off from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should cast into hell. Being a follower of Christ isn't something that can be looked upon outwardly. I was being a hypocrite, going around practicing stupidity like saying I'm the people, Esau's the white man, and buying fringes to be seen by others for attention. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 and 2a. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 and 2a read, Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter time some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, which I did. I listened to the count, speaking lies and hypocrisy, dressed up in fringes. They didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Romans 2:28, 2:28 and 29. Romans 2:28 and 29 read, For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh. However, he is a Jew, which is one inwardly. And circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. The outward circumcision is a token of what should be practiced within the inner man. That outward circumcision made us aware of our sin so we can make changes and be led by Christ. Galatians 5:23 through 25. Galatians 5:23 through 25. And it reads, oh, let me see, I think I got the wrong one. It's 3:23:25. Galatians 5:23. I mean 3:23-25. But before faith came, we were kept under the law, shut up unto the faith which should afterwards be revealed. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith. But after the faith is, let me read that again. But after that faith has come, we are no longer under the schoolmaster. Romans 7:6. But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead wherein we were held, as I thought, that we should serve in the newness of spirit and not in the oldness of the letter. I began to be a knowledge hunter. I purchased other books to mate with the 1611 King James Bible. I bought other stupid books like the Strong's Concordance, From Babylon to Timbuktu, Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary, and the so-called Hebrew Roots Bible, which was chock full of useless Yiddish words and meaning. I had the official Proselyte of Hell starter kit, ready to start my journey down the broad road to destruction. The Bible actually warns us about such acts. Let me go to Isaiah 34:16. Isaiah 34:16. And it reads, Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. About to explain, no one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate, which we're not supposed to mate other books to his book, which I was doing at that time. For my mouth it has commanded, and his spirit it had gathered them. 2 Timothy 2:15. 2 Timothy 2:15, and read, Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Genesis 2:16. And let's let the Bible do the talk. Genesis 2:16. Genesis 2:16 you read, and the Spirit of God, our God, commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. Ecclesiastes 12:12. Ecclesiastes 12:12. And further, by these, my son, be admonished, be warned, of making many books. There is no end. That's the end of that thought. And much study is a weariness of the flesh. Baruch 4:1. Baruch 4:1, chapter 4, verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life. However, such as leave it shall die. I said I was on the broad road headed for destruction. Genesis 2:17. Genesis chapter 2, verse 16. Verse 17. But of the tree of knowledge, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. I was encouraged by who I was learning from to purchase these dumb books. But a week or two later, I began to have doubts about what I was getting myself into. As I saw a Latino man from a so-called Hebrew Israelite street camp speaking harshly to a sister while minding her own business on one of those camp videos. Of course, I felt some kind of way about that and asked the guy I was learning from to send me a photo of that 12 tribes chart. I noticed there were more Latino than black tribes, and that was a red flag. It didn't make sense because they were not part of the Deuteronomy chapter 28. I then did a search to see that chart was a scam. A former camp guy popped up and I clicked to watch. He explained that chart was a snare to get more members due to the fact that most camps are under a 501c3 tax exemption. They cannot discriminate based on race or sexuality, or they would lose that tax exempt status. After this discovery, I told the guy I was learning from that this is something I didn't want to be a part of, and that they were no different than a Christian church. So we parted ways, and I just scoured YouTube looking for so-called non-camp Israelite channel. I followed one anti-camp guy for a while, but I left him alone after he said Yahushua was the fleshly son of Jehovah. I then followed Watchman and Deborah because they were anti-camp and used this book called the Sefer Bible, which I thought it was amazing at the time. I was even considering getting one myself because it supposedly contained all the lost books of the Bible. Shortly thereafter, I went back to the other guy's videos and read the comments. Somebody left a comment saying, if you like this guy, check out these channels. They listed 5 channels, with King James Bible University being the last one. Why they compare how they compare to King James Bible University, I do not know. Anyway, I went through each one to see what they were about. They all checked my anti-camp box, but they spent more time attacking camps than actually teaching the Bible. I finally reached King James Bible University, the last one on the list. I typed it into the search bar, and ironically, the first video that popped up was the Sefer Bible versus the King James Bible. the undisputed champ. I noticed as Elder Johnson dismantled the Sefer Bible, he kept the Bibles up at all times. And he had a very serious, no-nonsense demeanor. I said to myself, this guy is different. He actually teaches from the Bible, the entire Bible. Let me just repeat that. He actually teaches from the Bible the entire time. A couple of days later, I watched another video called Genesis Unlocked. This was the lesson that made me officially subscribe and leave all those other channels, because I learned my first spiritual word, which was light. And he said it meant knowledge and understanding. Then I learned my second spiritual word, tree, which meant elder or teacher. I was blown away and wanted to learn more. Earlier that year, I signed up for a kidney transplant. A kidney transplant is a surgical procedure where a healthy kidney from a donor is placed into the body of a person with kidney failure. Purpose? To replace a non-functioning kidney and restore kidney function. To improve quality of life, extend life expectancy for individuals with end-stage kidney disease. Types: living donor transplant. The donor is a healthy person who provides a kidney while alive. Deceased donor transplant. The donor is a person who has recently died or whose family has consented to donate their organ, which I had from a child that died. Procedure. The surgery usually typically takes 3 to 5 hours. The donor kidney is placed in the lower abdomen near the existing kidneys. The donor's artery and vein are connected to the recipient's blood vessels. The donor's ureter connected to the recipient's bladder. Keep that part in mind, because this will play a key part in part B of this teaching. Recovery. Hospital stay usually 5 to 7 days. I actually got on 3 days, and they put me in a hotel room after that. Medications are required to prevent rejection of the transplanted kidney. I was actually on up to 21 medications at one time, but they weed me off of each one gradually as I progressed. Follow-up appointments and monitoring are essential to ensure the kidney is functioning properly. Eligibility. Patient must have end-stage kidney disease, which I had. Donors must be healthy and compatible with the recipient. Factors such as age, health, status, and lifestyle considered. My nephrologist said I was his quote-unquote star patient, and kept on encouraging me to get the transplant. Benefits: improve quality of life, increase life expectancy, and reduce need for dialysis. Risks: rejection of the transplanted kidney, infection, and complications from surgery. Keep those in mind as well for part B. After about a month of tests and consultations, I was added to the transplant list. The day after watching the Genesis Unlocked teaching, which was about 3 months later, they called me in for a kidney transplant. What I thought was going to be a quote unquote new lease on life ended up being a total nightmare. Even after coming into the truth, knowledge of the truth, I still had that black nationalist pride in my heart. And I will expound on that later. I will expound on what transpired in part 3B of this series. I'm Brother Connor, and it has been my pleasure to serve the flag of Jehovah. Shalom.